The Seattle Kraken, they've got players. The Milwaukee Bucks, they've got a title. Trevor Georgie, well, we've got him. It's Sports QuaranTV. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris Dobson, Gerry Green. Gerry, we've got a busy show tonight. I'm really excited about it. We had a chance to catch up with General Manager of the St. John Seadogs, Trevor Georgie, talking about the Memorial Cup and, his application, the bid. So we're going to show that interview a little later on. But there's some big news happening. Obviously, the NHL expansion draft, the Seattle Kraken, their list is out. I would say probably the most anticlimactic expansion draft that we've seen. I mean, Vegas, a lot of leaks came out, but overall, it is here. The Seattle Kraken has a team. What are your thoughts?
I hope they're correct. I hope that the insiders have it all right, and that the release names are the ones that inevitably are going to end up on the list. But I'm not impressed when I look at the list, Chris. There are some good names, and the first one that jumps out to me is Yanni Gourde from Tampa. But Tampa has a wealth of great players there, so you were going to get a good player there. But I'm a little surprised at what happens with Edmonton and losing Adam Larson, and Duncan Keith has come in. They don't seem to be any further ahead. And then the signing of Smith, the goaltender they had last year, again as part of the Edmonton Oilers building for Connor McDavid. That kind of confuses me. But certainly what you do see, Chris, is not a team similar to the luxuries of the Vegas Golden Knights of a couple of seasons ago.
Vegas made a bunch of moves on the draft floor too. So after their team was done, that wasn't the team they were putting into the roster. So we'll have a better understanding, but I fully agree with you. I'm looking at the list of the players that, as of right now are being chosen by the Seattle Kraken, which, by the way, still, I've said it 1,000 times, love the name. I absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. The ones that have shocked me and the information we're not going to know is, and at this point, we basically, I'm not going to say we know, but I'll put it in quotations. The info had been leaked. Every player except for who's in Detroit. Stevie Yzerman has done a great job at making sure Frank Saravelli doesn't get his name on this. But as far as some of the interesting stuff that I saw, Anaheim, Hayden Fleury, Montreal, Cale Fleury, the brothers united in Seattle.
Interesting. Right.
And then to me, one of the bigger picks, which I would assume will be the captain of the Seattle Kraken, will be Mark Giordano. Watching Gio do and play his career out in Calgary, it was a hard goodbye for Calgary Flames fans to have to deal with this news. And when that pick's official, knock on wood again, if this list is accurate, I would think that's a big get for them. You're getting a big veteran guy, seemingly with a young roster here. And you've got some veterans here too. I mean, Jordan Eberle out of New York, another great get for them. But you talked about Yanni Gourde. For some reason, I have a feeling somehow, some way, Yanni Gourde's still going to somehow end up in Montreal. I don't know why.
Well, he's the most expensive player that they picked up, Chris, at just over $5 million. And we talked about that there is a minimum floor you have to meet as a payroll, and that's around $60 million. And from what they've taken in this expansion draft, that's not gonna hurt them too bad. But what I did notice was I think their strength is definitely going to be on defense, but I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with any of the goaltenders that they've signed to this point. They didn't. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there was any goaltenders taken in this draft. Am I correct in assuming that? I know that Chris Drager could be their number one goalie, and they signed him, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Well, it looks like he'll be their number one goalie today, pending any transactions tonight. But yes, so Vitek Vanacek, he was actually taken from the Washington Capitals at a minimum hit. I think it's like $717,000, and the other goaltender was Joey Decourt out of Ottawa for a $750,000 cap hit. But yeah, so you talked about Chris Drieger and his cap hit. I believe it was $3.5 million, Gerry. I think it's what they agreed to. So to me, and obviously at this point, the rumors were still swirling in regards to Carey Price. That was the
intrigue. That was what's so fun. Yes,
that was the reason people were tuning into the draft conference, the draft expansion tonight. And I don't care what anybody says, whether you're a Habs fan or you're not. Everybody wanted to know if the Seattle Kraken were going to take a flyer on Carey Price. And to me, I'm not even going to lie to you. You had me sweat it out for a long time.
I know.
I was sticking to my guns, though. I said he wouldn't. But what I feel bad for during these conversations is how many idiotic people on the social media start bombarding Carey Price's wife on social media trying to get this information. It's like, I have no use for it. Anyways, just stop.
But there was a lot of breadcrumbs being dropped there, Chris. I mean,
of course,
the fact that they put him on the list, he waives his no trade clause. Rumors about an injury or two that might make Seattle not want to take him. But the other breadcrumbs were what a figurehead he would be for the organization, played his junior hockey there, his wife's from there, his mother's in BC, and how attractive that would have been, how it would have been for Montreal, $10 million contract, no longer there, have Jake Allen take the ropes and a younger Primo coming up as a young goaltender, and what you could do with that extra cap ability. It was very intriguing, Chris. And as I said to you maybe 3 months ago, when I said, maybe it was on camera or not, that don't be surprised if Carey Price ends up in Seattle and you thought I was crazy. But maybe a lot of smoke, but certainly there was some concrete evidence that he possibly could have.
Absolutely. And I mean, you are right. I mean, we've had that conversation a few times, and, regardless of what would have happened, I'll be frank with you. I made peace with it 24 hours ago. One way or another, I was happy for him and the family. And I say this as a fan, right? Not as somebody on broadcasting, but what I thought was really interesting was what came out from the Carey Price situation in regards to the no move clause. The idea for him to get left unprotected was his idea. He went to Marc Bergevin. He didn't want to lose Jake Allen. So he said, look, and I think that's because, let's be real. I mean, Carey can't play 50 games a season. He can't do it. Otherwise, you won't get playoff Carey that you had. So Carey said, let's put our cards on the table. He's like, leave me. He's not going to take me. They're not going to go that route. Now, again, we don't know what happened. For all we know, there could be a first-round pick going to Seattle tonight to make sure that Carey Price is still in Montreal. We don't know that information. Now, overall, I would suggest that Carey Price and Jake Allen are best friends at this point, because if Carey's making that call to have Jake, local Fredericton boy, still staying there to guard the pipes for him while he's off, that's going to tell you something. And rumors are reporting that he called Jake Allen before he actually made that decision to talk to Marc Bergevin. So either way, Carey Price is a Montreal Canadian, which is great because back in 2017, he said he wanted to retire there. Hey, that's all we know.
But it's a great discussion piece, Chris, and talking to friends today about it. What else can Carey Price do in Montreal? He's been their best player in most playoff seasons. He has been their best player, and they just haven't been able to get complete. Now, going to Seattle certainly wasn't going to win him a championship. So then the rumors started, Seattle takes him and then maybe deals him to Colorado, and that would be an incredible occurrence if that ever happened. So there was so many great stories that were coming out of the fact that Carey Price was on the list. It was entertaining indeed.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. So, I mean, but again, this all stems from this morning. That draft show's tonight, and everybody knew this information this morning. I mean, the leaks were out. You're not going to stop them. Yeah. But what I hate is the fact that, and not just every leak, every player except for Detroit was leaked today. By 2 p.m., this list was out. So the NHL screwed up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This list should have been provided by 8 p.m. tonight, and then Seattle's on the floor at 9.
And here's the beauty part, Chris. It's, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's ESPN's first kick at the NHL, isn't it? Yes, that's a kick.
Are they right now?
Sure, it would be.
Do you remember this happened? Was it the NFL? The NFL, all these leaks came out, and then all of a sudden they told everybody, any more leaks get out, and none of you are getting anything ever again. And then they stopped. But the NHL hasn't stepped in and done anything like this yet. But either way, I'm with you. I hate leaks, but don't blame the reporter. The reporter was doing his job.
Oh no, that's what gets you the hits. That's what gets you the activity on your website, on your Twitter account, whatever. Employers see that. That's a big thing. Hits are a big thing.
No, you're absolutely right. The other thing, excuse me, I kind of got trailed off for a second. I've got so many thoughts in my head right now about this whole situation. But in regards to social media, but that's the whole aspect of it now, Jerry. Social media is a thing. You can't avoid it.
No, you can't. But overall, I thought the defensemen specifically, and we talked about that the goaltenders, I don't know that well, but the defensemen, and I've always liked Vince Dunn in St. Louis, and they've got him too. And I think he's a young, talented defenseman that also adds some offense too. And you throw Giordano in there to guide that relatively young defensive group, but Oleksiak from Dallas is in there too, and he's a good experienced defenseman. So they're building on a defensive end of things. It just whether or not the goaltending can hold up. But this really feels truly like an expansion team.
Absolutely. Well, Gerry, you're right. We've given everybody here all the information we know so far. We hope you tune into the expansion draft tonight. Maybe we'll get some good excitement stories that we can talk about next week on the show. But yeah, let's move on. I did tease it a little earlier. Earlier this week, I was able to catch up with general manager of the St. John Seadogs, Trevor Georgie, in regards to what the process is like to bid on a Memorial Cup now that's going to be in the QMJHL. It was a great piece. I always love talking to Trevor. It's an absolute gem. Hope you guys enjoy it. See you soon. Very excited to be joined yet again. Seems like every time we get an opportunity, we kind of teased it a little bit last week. We were hoping to get him on, and it actually came together a little quicker than we thought. So we're very pleased. Joining us now, the general manager of the St. John Seadogs, Trevor Georgie. And Trevor, first and foremost, thanks for doing this as always. We always appreciate it. And I want to get right into it, though, my friend. And that is, some big news has come out in the last couple of weeks. I know we were kind of talking off camera a little bit, and it's basically been the only words in your mouth for the last 4 weeks has been Memorial Cup. And of course, the announcement came on out that the St. John Seadogs, as well as the Quebec Ramparts, have officially put their bids in to host the Memorial Cup in 2022. I mean, that's got to be exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I know that there's a checklist of things before I joined the team in the February of 2016. And, some of those boxes, all of the boxes, actually, apart from one box, has been checked in terms of things that were really important to Scott and our ownership group at the time. And the last box to check is hosting the Memorial Cup here in St. John's. So very exciting that we're actually in that window where it could be a possibility.
So looking back on, the whole process, so we're going to start right off the hop. I mean, what is the process that needs to go through to actually be named one of the final two finalists to host it?
Great question. So historically, there's a much longer period of time to go through all the stations. This time around, we found out, we got the bid guidelines a few weeks back, and I think it was within a 10-day period we needed to submit our letter of intent to host, to submit a bid, and then August 6th, the actual written and video submission is due. And then at the end of August, though I think it's the week of August 23rd, there's going to be a Q&A period with a bid committee. And then by September 6th, we'll know if it's going to be us or the Quebec Ramparts that'll have the privilege of hosting the 2022 Memorial Cup. To put into context, the Memorial Cup tournament would have already been awarded to the host city for the following year by the time we actually got the bid document. So it's really condensed. And there's this year being different from other years, there's no site visit. There's no in-person site visit by the committee because of the pandemic. So everything is going to be done, through the bid document, through the video, which they want to be a very simple, basic video, not too much flash or pizzazz, as they put it. Just as a simple walkthrough, and then a question and answer period. So we'd love to have them here in St. John to show them everything that we have to offer and the whole region, because we think it's a great regional event, but that won't be the case.
Right. And so, that's a great point, because, I mean, this is the first Memorial Cup in the last 3 years, as the last two have been canceled due to the pandemic. And I mean, there's so much, importance going into this one, maybe not necessarily specifically, but you talked about the site visits, and what people don't realize and what goes into putting this bid together is there's a lot more than just submitting a video. Typically, I mean, when you talk about the site visits, they come on down, they look at hotels, they look at access to the facilities, things along those lines. So it is a little different this year. And I always found that really interesting. And I was wondering how the league and the committee was going to look at that, seeing how, like you mentioned, due to the pandemic, you couldn't actually come to St. John and see exactly what the facilities look like.
Yeah, Chris, you're bang on. That changes the dynamic for sure. And in terms of preparation, like your video that you're submitting in terms of what you need to show is the same thing that you show on a site visit. So in terms of setting up spaces, defining spaces, showing different possibilities for venues, all that needs to be communicated effectively in the video. So you're essentially preparing for a site visit that never happens. and shooting it. So there's still I would say there's actually more work involved. Well, same amount of work, but in a shorter window of time.
So now that you are one of the two finalists, outside of waiting to that September timeline to figure out if you win, are there any other steps between now and then, or are we just sitting in the waiting game at this point?
Yeah, so between now and August 6th, we need to submit the video and the bid document. Fortunately, last year when the pandemic struck, we were able to keep all of our full-time employees employed, and we put all their energy towards preparing and thinking through Memorial Cup bids. So that was a way for us to keep everyone going during a tough time, and also focus on something that's a long-term organizational goal. And so we have pieces of it that have been kind of ready to go for 12 months now. But the document is well over 100 pages. What a typical bid document looks like. Some of them from years past have been 200 pages, so a lot of detail. And a video, it's the league has said to be a maximum 15-minute video. Well, as you know, in the media space, that's a short film, right? Like that's not
very much.
So there's a lot heavy lifting that needs to be done between now and August 6th to be in a position where we would be, we can go to sleep at night saying, hey, we gave it our best shot.
So, and another key aspect to hosting the Memorial Cup, or even preparing to play in a Memorial Cup tournament here locally, I mean, now that the Mem Cup is in the queue and there is two teams vying for it, so if you're unsuccessful in the bid and Quebec happens to win the bid, at that point, does that change your plans, or is the roster construction still the same? Like, is this, I know we've been talking for 2 years here now, Trevor, about trying to build this team for this run and everything you've done. Does your roster construction change whether you win or lose this bid?
It doesn't. No, it doesn't, because this is the age group, R02s and R03s kind of behind in terms of reaching maturity. This is the age group that we've built around. The ingredients for the cake are all there. The cake hasn't risen yet, so to speak, and it needs to. We understand that it does. The team needs to take a significant step forward next season. It doesn't change in terms of the way we're thinking of things. We've got, in our pockets, we've got 4 first-round picks and 5 second-round picks in our pocket to make adjustments at Christmas as need be. We've got we're happy with our draft. We have a lot of prospects that we're quite happy with. Based on our scouting staff, they felt that they got 5 of their top 31 prospects in terms of who they had. Everyone had different opinions. I'm sure everyone left the draft happy, especially this year. But we feel that, we're in a position where we're locked into a roster, but we also have enough in our pocket to make adjustments and additions and tweaks should we have the privilege of hosting.
So I know a lot of and again, being in New Brunswick myself down here in Moncton, we hear a lot of rumblings about everyone wanting St. John to win this bid. And I know myself, selfishly included, I would love to have the Mem Cup 90 minutes from my house. It would make me absolutely ecstatic, only because I lost the ability to go to the last one in the queue in Halifax, because unfortunately my kids were born that Friday. I'm not unfortunately, fortunately. But overall, if I look at it from a perspective of, if you start thinking from an off-ice perspective, how do you envision preparing for the first post-pandemic Memorial Cup? I mean, that's got to cross your mind at some point. This is huge.
Yeah, no question. Well, I think it would be the 102nd Memorial Cup, and after 2 years, a 2-year hiatus, and I think it gives us the world's gone through a lot. Sport's gone through a lot since the last Mem Cup, and I think that our Memorial Cup in St. John wouldn't just be about St. John. It's about the region, and it's about hockey. It's a platform to do more than just host a hockey tournament, and that's something that that'll take a lot of heavy lifting to do and to do effectively. The other thing I'd say is it's a bit of a David versus Goliath story, right? Like the Quebec Ramparts, Quebec City, they had it in 2015. I know that the Quebec government, last year, it's, I think, well documented how much funding all the Quebec-based teams had. The Maritimes teams, battled through it without any of that support. We've never hosted in St. John, and I feel, your statement about people in Moncton kind of wanting us to get it. I think it's very similar across the whole province, and we've heard from people in Fredericton, people in the northern part of the province, even people in other provinces, PEI and Nova Scotia, saying, "Geez, it'd be great for St. John to host." So there's going to be a lot of work involved, lots of great volunteers, lots of people putting in overtime hours to make this happen. But we need to win it first. David needs to beat Goliath first, and a big part of that's government support. This event there's an organizing committee for this. And at the end of the day, if we want to host the Memorial Cup and have a 10-day event that generates $1 million a day in economic spin-off and really kickstart our tourism and restart our economy and showcase St. John and the region to the rest of the country, we need to put together a compelling package. And we're going to, as an organizing committee, they're certainly speaking to the chair of our organizing committee. We're going to need the government and local sport to really step up and be there in the trenches with us as David tries to beat Goliath on this.
Well, I will say this, talking to a lot of fans around New Brunswick as well. I mean, they also feel that you guys may have potentially been robbed a couple of years back about hosting a Memorial Cup anyway. So I know they're kind of rooting for it. And anybody who follows along these fables and in these fairy tales, everybody knows that David always wins. Absolutely, Trevor. I want to thank you so much for doing this, brother. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm glad you guys are having a great summer. At the same time, I know it's been hectic, man. So I wish you all the best. Best of luck on the bid. Can't wait to talk to you after. Hopefully we're smiling and, maybe possibly cheersing over a possible victory here.
Thanks so much, Chris. I appreciate it. I like that. David always wins. We'll sell t-shirts.
Absolutely. Hashtag. Thanks so much for doing this. Trevor Georgie, General Manager of the St. John Seadogs. Appreciate it as always, Trevor. We'll talk soon. Such an informative piece to know what goes into the process of, actually bidding for a Mem Cup, Jerry. And, a lot of people think that it's just based off your team, your roster, what it's going to look like. And it was really cool. And I'm not sure if you caught this, Jerry, but like when he was talking about, this year it's a little different because the interaction videos, because usually they take the tour into the city to do a venue search, but this time it had to all be done virtually, right? So it was really interesting piece.
Yeah, I think Coteau's familiar with what St. John can offer when they kind of went to Shawinigan instead of St. John the last time the Seadogs bid. So good luck, St. John Seadogs and the organization there in getting a Memorial Cup in.
Absolutely. So, Jerry, let's move on from ice hockey. Let's go to the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo puts on a clinic last night and solidifies it, closes it out for the Milwaukee Bucks. They win their first title in a long time, 50 years, I believe, at this point.
And to come back from 2 games down, Chris, and I think they were 2 games down in the semifinal, 2 against Brooklyn, weren't they? I think they were, but it's quite an accomplishment how you can spin it around in basketball. And actually, the game number 5 in Phoenix, the Suns had a 16-point lead, of which the Bucks came back and erased that and went on to get that, which would have been a big victory. But did you see the amount of people? And I've said this last week, there's 600,000 people in the city of Milwaukee, and there was 60,000 people reportedly outside the arena last night. That's huge.
Absolutely massive. It was a gong show in there. And to watch what the fans could do. And the fans of Milwaukee deserve this. We talked about it week after week, Jerry, that, it's a great thing that Milwaukee and Phoenix were in the final. Because for the first time in a long time, the Cavaliers, Oklahoma City, like Golden State, the Lakers, these guys weren't there. I love it. I absolutely love it. But my favorite part of the whole thing was Giannis's press conference at the end. I'm not sure if did you see it?
I don't think I did.
He had a conversation and they asked him about, winning that title. And what he said was, anybody can win a title. I could have gone to a super team before my contract extensions because that's what the thing is to do now. But I told the fans that I wanted to win here in Milwaukee. I wanted to bring a title here. And he did just that. He stuck around with the roster he had, and he built around Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I was looking at the draft that year he got drafted and how many players went before him in the draft.
He's taken 15th, wasn't he?
Yes, mind-blowing. The Greek Freak goes 15. And anyways, he kept his promise to the fans of Milwaukee, brings the title back. I love it. The storyline was great. It was absolutely perfect.
Well, that's what I'm not liking about basketball lately is so-and-so wants so-and-so to come and play with him. And I want to create a team here and there. And the other thing I don't like, and I see it in all the 3 other major sports except the NHL, is the handing of the trophy to the owners off the get-go by the commissioner instead of the coaches and the players, the ones that earned it. I know they signed the checks, but you got to think the guys who earned it on the court with blood, sweat, and tears are the guys who should be touching the trophy first.
Especially after the last 2 seasons they've been through. These players have left their families and done everything else with COVID protocol, getting tested every day. And you're going through this entire thing. And you're right. This is not a shot at the owners. The ownership group, they should, but give it to your players. You're absolutely right. There's no business in there. But again, this isn't the only sport that does it. The NHL is the only sport that seemingly gives the trophy to the players.
Yeah, and it's such a great sight when they gather around the trophy on the ice. It could be in the middle of the court, it could be in the middle of the football field, doesn't matter. They all get around it like the NHL does, and everybody have a group picture. And the fact that everybody gets to walk around with the Stanley Cup, nobody got to touch the trophy except Chris Middleton. From the coverage I saw, he was holding on to it like it was a baby, and I took it into the dressing room with him. Nobody got to hoist it except him in the ceremony that I saw on the court.
Absolutely. Well, Jerry, it's going to wrap it up. It is time for everyone's favorite part of the show. It's time for the wrap, Jerry. Starting at the top, Colin Maricora wins the British Open. I mean, what did you think of the tournament this year?
Well, I said, the weather was a major factor. It was no factor this time around. Morikawa comes from behind. He's in the last group with Oosthuizen, but he goes -4 while Oosthuizen goes +1, along with Jordan Spieth. John climbed ahead, as did John Rahm. And again, tip the hat to the Canadians and Corey Connor, who couldn't get it done down the stretch, but had a top 10 finish along with Mackenzie Hughes. So I love watching the Canadians play at the majors, and they seem to be in the running more and more. I'm really liking that. I'm not liking what I'm hearing from Tokyo, Chris, about the Olympics. What's the latest?
Oh, great question. The Olympics is underway. I think they're a day in now at this point. But overall, COVID cases are increasing. The Olympics are underway. They are going to play it by ear at this point. As of right now, the Olympics is still a go. Things are going to continue to go. They are going to monitor it. Like I said, we've seen a few spikes over in Tokyo. But yeah, we'll stay tuned. They said there's no shame canceling this thing last minute if they have to. Player safety is extremely important. So we'll stay tuned and figure out what we can do with that. Jerry, the NHL draft is this weekend. It's the first time I've seen in a long time where we haven't seen a highly touted Q player in the draft. Are you excited for it?
I'm excited for it, and I am kind of out of touch on who is number one. It's been such a crazy summer that usually leads up. There's lots of talk about who's number one. But what I do like about the NHL, again, even though Bettman's involved, he invites the teams up and they make the announcement, not the commissioner, which you see in baseball or football and basketball. Again, dislike that. I will be watching on Friday night. It's always an interesting pomp and circumstance. But Chris, Aaron Rodgers, what's going on with him in Green Bay? Is his time marked now? What's going on?
In contract till 2023. There's a contract extension offer on the table by Green Bay. He turned it down, which would have made him the highest paid player in NFL history. So the rumor's still out. Nobody knows where will he play next season. We'll figure it out then. Guys, that's been a great show for us. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate the viewership. Thanks again. We'll see you next Thursday.